Hi, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Musical Memories. I'm your host, Anthony Gamer, and in today's episode, we're going to discuss Led Zeppelin IV, or Zeppelin IV, or anyway, Zeppelin's fourth album. We'll get into that in a second. Alright, so before we get into anything else, let's discuss the name of the album. Now, the album itself was not given a title. This, I think, was Jimmy Page's idea. And the record label was not too crazy about it. So, therefore, with the album not having a title, it's kind of hard to know what to call it. Some people have called it Symbols because of the different symbols that each of the band members have to represent them. Okay, these are the four symbols, each of them representing the members of the band. The first one is Jimmy Page's symbol. He really never explained where it came from. Thus, the people have named the album Sozo, which is what they think that first symbol means, but Jimmy Page says, no, it's not. But then he won't give any other explanation. Now, the next one is John Paul Jones's symbol. Those represent the single circle intersecting with three Pisces. It's intended to symbolize a person who possesses both confidence and competence. Okay, and the next symbol is supposed to be John Bonham's, the drummer, as there are three interlocking Borromean rings, which he got from the same book that John Paul Jones did, Rudolph Koch's Book of Symbols. And the final symbol is Robert Plant's, and this symbol is a feather with a circle. This was his own design, being based on the sign of the Mu civilization. So, in other words, even with the symbols and all the other stuff, the album officially doesn't have a title. Like I said, it's usually called Led Zeppelin IV. If you look in catalogs for Atlantic Records, they have the title Four Symbols, the fourth album, like I said, Sozo, Untitled, and Runes. So, what does the band say about it? Well, Robert Plant says it's the fourth album, that's it. So, from now on, we'll just call it Zeppelin IV. What else makes it very interesting is that nowhere on the LP, not on the front cover, the back cover, or the spine, do you see a title, the band's name, or even the catalog number of the album. Alright, so let's get into the music. That's what we're here to talk about. Now, let's look at side one. Now, the entire album itself clocks in at 42 minutes and 34 seconds. On side one, we have Black Dog at 4 minutes and 54 seconds, written by Jimmy Page and Robert Plant and John Paul Jones. The second track is Rock and Roll, written by all four of the members. It clocks in at 3 minutes and 40 seconds. Number 3 is The Battle of Evermore, written by Page and Plant, at 5 minutes and 51 seconds. And Stairway to Heaven, which was written by Page and Plant and clocks in at 8 minutes and 2 seconds. Okay, now on to side 2. The first song is Misty Mountain Hop. This was written by Jimmy Page, Robert Plant, and John Paul Jones, and clocks in at 4 minutes and 38 seconds. Next is Four Sticks, written by Page and Plant, clocks in at 4 minutes and 44 seconds. Number 3 is Going to California, written by Page and Plant, clocks in at 3 minutes and 31 seconds. And the final track, When the Levee Breaks, which was based on an old Memphis mini song with adaptions made by all four of the band members, and it clocks in at 7 minutes and 7 seconds. Now, even though this album is just amazing and is considered by most to be Led Zeppelin's greatest album, if not one of the greatest albums of all time, only 2 singles were released off this album, the first being Black Dog, and its B-side was Misty Mountain Hop, and it was released December 2nd, 1971, and the second track was Rock and Roll, the B-side being Four Sticks, and it was released February 22nd, 1972. So yes, to your surprise, and probably the surprise of many people throughout history, Stairway to Heaven was not a single. Okay, before we get into the story behind the songs themselves, let's discuss the album cover. Now, One thing that a lot of people ask about is that painting. What is it? Well, it was actually a rustic oil painting that Robert Plant purchased from an antique shop in Reading, Berkshire. Then the painting was juxtaposed and affixed to this internal papered wall of this partly demolished suburban house for the photograph to be taken. Now, the flats you see behind there is at this place called the Ladywood District of Birmingham, and you can see the Salisbury Tower in the background. Interestingly enough, Jimmy Page says that the cover was supposed to symbolize the difference between the country and the city dichotomy, and he also said this was to remind people to take care of the earth. Now, the cover, again, of course, is very iconic and actually was put on a postage stamp by the Royal Mail in January of 2010. Now, the inside cover itself is quite interesting, and this painting is called The Hermit, and it was painted by Barrington Colby, credited to Barrington Colby MOM on the album sleeve, and it was influenced by the design of the card of the same name in the Rider-Waite tarot deck, as Jimmy Page himself was quite into mysticism and tarot and stuff like that. The inner painting is also sometimes referred to as view in half or varying light, just in case that happens to come up sometime in trivia or something for you. The only place that you see the credits for the album are on the record sleeve itself. Now, on the flip side of the record sleeve, you have the lyrics to Stairway to Heaven. Now, these were Jimmy Page's contribution, as he found the type in an old magazine called The Studio that was dated in the late 19th century, and he had somebody arrange to make the lyrics for this song on here. Alright, so let's discuss the songs themselves. The first song, again, on the first side was Black Dog, that they named after a dog that hung around during the recording studio. The guitar solos in the outro were pretty awesome, again, but they were recorded directly into the desk at the recording studio without using amplifiers, and this was a song that Robert Plant himself liked to do during his solo concerts. The next track being Rock and Roll, this one actually featured a guest musician, and that was the Rolling Stones pianist Ian Stewart. Me personally, I love this song a lot. I love the drum work that John Bonham did. Probably the best out of It's really hard to pick one particular drumming aspect of Bonham because he was just such an amazing drummer, but this is one that really sticks out in my memory. The next one is one of my personal favorite Zeppelin tunes, and that is the Battle of Evermore. This one's actually written by Jimmy Page on a mandolin that he borrowed from John Paul Jones. Robert Plant added the lyrics, and he based it on a book he was reading about the Scottish independent wars. Now, you hear a woman singing with him, and that woman was Sandy Denny, who was a popular singer at the time that unfortunately lived a very tragic and short life. Now, in the song, when they're singing, Robert Plant plays the part of the narrator describing events, and Sandy Denny plays the part of the town crier representing the people. It's a very intense song on several different levels, and I have to honestly say it's just a very well structured song that really sticks in your mind. I mean, it's not the best song on the album, but it's just something about that song just really resonates with me. And of course, the last song on the first side is Stairway to Heaven. Now, what can we say about this song that hasn't already been said? Wow. Most people consider this song to be sacred, and it's considered disrespectful to actually, cover the tune. As a matter of fact, when Jimmy Page and Robert Plant got back together for the Unleaded tour, they refused to perform the song in any of their concerts except for the farewell, the final concert they did in Las Vegas, because they said they considered it disrespectful to perform the song without John Bonham. Of course, many of you know John Bonham, the drummer, passed away in the early 80s from alcohol poisoning. Now, this song was definitely a whole team effort here, as everyone put a little bit of their own spins on the song. Now, the song was mostly written by Jimmy Page. The lyrics were written by Robert Plant, but then you had John Paul Jones playing the recorders at the beginning of the song, and then you had John Bonham just kicking in with the drums towards the end. Now, the song itself gets a lot of radio play on classic rock stations. Being as I wasn't around when this album came out, let me know in the comments section below if it received as much airplay back in the day as it has now. Again, the band was kind of pressured to release it as a single, but they resisted. And it did become part of their live set from 1971 onward, like I said, until the various reunion shows, and then only sporadically did they actually perform it again. A lot of people consider this to be the greatest classic rock song ever written, and I've heard rumors that the band themselves don't like the song, but if they didn't like the song, why would that be the only song that they had the lyrics for on the album itself? And it's hard to say. Like I said, I have not personally spoke to Jimmy Page or Robert Plant, so I've heard that they love the song, but again, that they just refused to perform it after John Bonham passed away. So who knows? If any of you know the answer to that or have heard other stories, let me know in the comments section below, because like I said, I love this song. I consider it one of the greatest songs ever written, and I think that's a general consensus with a lot of classic rock fans. Alright, so let's flip the record over and talk about side 2. First song was Misty Mountain Hop, another one of my favorite Zeppelin tracks, and Robert Plant wrote the lyrics, and he said that this song was about dealing with the clash against students and police around drug possession. Obviously, this is one that he felt kind of strong about. Anyway, Plant would perform this song quite frequently during his solo tours. Alright, the next track is Four Sticks. They got the name from a drum pattern that Bonham played with 4 drumsticks, actually, throughout the song. This song was actually very difficult for them to record, and actually perform, as it took them several takes to get it right, and they really did not like to perform this song live, as they only did it one time as Led Zeppelin, and then they did perform it on the No Quarter Jimmy Page and Robert Plant Unleaded album. But a song I really like, but I don't think it's one of their favorites. Alright, next is a quiet acoustic song that's called Going to California. This one was written by Jimmy Page and Robert Plant, and it's about the California earthquakes and trying to find the perfect woman. And the final song on the album is When the Levee Breaks. This was actually a blues song recorded by Memphis Minnie and Kansas Joe McCoy in 1929. Pretty heavy song. Led Zeppelin's version, of course, is pretty heavy. And this is one of those type of songs that kind of reinforces the idea that it was Led Zeppelin that created heavy metal. This song really does reinforce that, as John Bonham just hammers in as soon as the song starts with his drumming, and it's got some good heavy guitar work as well, so great way to end this album. Alright, so in closing, this album has received critical acclaim over the years. Most critics loved it back in the day and love it today. One critic, Stephen Thomas Erlewine, said of the album that it defined not only Led Zeppelin, but the sound and style of 70s hard rock. Also, it's one of the biggest selling albums of all time. As of 2018, it is tied for third highest certified album in the U.S. At 23 times platinum, and has sold over 37 million copies worldwide. As for myself, I have to honestly say that I have a lot of positive memories attached to this album. I remember my father purchasing it, and it got quite a bit of play in our house, particularly, Stairway to Heaven, which is a song that, I heard quite a bit in my childhood, still enjoy today. And this has to be one of those albums that I feel has total replayability. In other words, there have been times, as I have this on CD, as well as the record, that I will actually just repeat it, let it loop over and over again, because it's just that great of an album. There is not a bad song on it. There are some that I like more than others, but to be honest with you, every song on this album can and does get played on the classic rock station, and it really was, and probably always will be, a staple of the Ventrilo family. Well, that brings us to the end of another episode of Musical Memories. I really hope you all enjoyed it. If you did, you know what to do. Smash that like button. Subscribe if you haven't already. And don't forget to click that little bell icon down there so you'll be notified when I upload new videos. I want to let you guys know that I'm going to make a little bit of a change here on Musical Memories. What I'm going to do is start discussing in blocks my favorite albums by specific artists, as opposed to jumping around from one artist to the other. Each episode, this, like I said, I did Boston, then I did a Supertramp episode, now I did Zeppelin. I'm going to have just a block of my favorite albums by a specific artist. And to start things off, by the request of one of my loyal and longtime viewers, I'm going to start with Lynyrd Skynyrd. And what better album to start this with than their debut album, Pronounced, Lynyrd Skynyrd. So you will not want to miss that. Well, until next time, this has been Anthony Gamer. Thank you for stopping by, and I will see you all in the next episode. Until then, take care of yourselves and rock on. Goodbye.